Felicitations! It is me, Felicia Day, and this is my every 3 weeks podcast. It's supposed to be every 2 weeks, all right? But last week was, it's a tough one. It was a tough one, and I didn't record, okay? And then I thought I was going to have something super important to announce today that would motivate you guys to be excited and enjoy some of my creativity. And in fact, that announcement got delayed for a couple weeks. So on the next podcast, I will be able to announce something good. All right, moving on. This has been a crazy couple weeks for me. For one whole week, I was recording a new season of Voyage to the Stars. Yay! Guys, we got a pickup for season 2. That was kind of cool. We got a party and some cupcakes. That was also a cheese plate. There's nothing better than one of those cheese balls that has nuts on the outside of it. It's honestly my food fetish. Everything should be a ball with nuts on it. Ooh, okay. Moving on. I did some awesome records with some great guest stars. So if you haven't caught up on Voyage to the Stars, please go to Voyage to the Stars on any podcast app. If you're listening to this, you are familiar with podcasts. It's a natural. So go ahead and do that. So we had many days of recording, 3 days of recording, and then we have a couple more to do. We have Angela Kinsey, Harvey Guyen. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Sorry, Harvey. We had Jesse Cox. We have just a whole litany of really great guest stars. And I have to tell you, we laughed way more this season. So whatever you liked about last season is going to be on steroids next season. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe. And please leave a rating because that will help people find the show so that when we're uploading new episodes, they will be there. We also have a new cast member her name is Kirsten Vangsness. I butcher her name. I called her Kristen, and then she looked at me like, oh, that isn't my name. I'm so sorry for you. Like, she was so sweet about it because she probably gets her name mangled all the time, which I do too, so you'd think I'd have name empathy there. But no, I was a jerk. So now before I have to say her name, I have to think Kirsten. She's pretty great. She's very funny, and she plays a really fun character, and I don't want to talk about it more because I will get in trouble. So, also, before I get too deep in the podcast, please, if you have questions, because that is a really fun part of this podcast, that I answer your questions, please leave a comment on Twitter with hashtag felicitations. Sean Sandy Looky Look, my podcast mod, will collect them, and I will be able to answer them as I do at the end of this podcast. I got my WGA card finally. So the WGA is the Writers Guild of America, and it is a union for writers in Hollywood. You might be familiar with some of the things that are going on. They're in a tussle with the agencies, and all writers had to leave their agencies. I was not yet a union member before this, but it was because somebody didn't actually file some paperwork properly. Because starting in 2017, I've been doing a lot of Hollywood writing. So I did a pilot for somebody fancy that will never see the light of day. I wrote on a show for YouTube that I was supposed to star in as well that will never see the light of day. I wrote on Mystery Science Theater, which will see the light of day, but somebody forgot to put the one thing from YouTube on my Writers Guild. And so basically you accumulate points to earn membership to get into the union. And so when I called and I said, it's weird that I'm in the union, they looked it up and that was not counted. So I got my union card, which you guys, I don't know how many of you are in unions, but thank God for them. Really, because in this world where you see increasingly that corporations are not going to help their workers out just, for their own good, for the benefit of the workers' good, you have to have sort of that collective bargaining to be able to negotiate reasonable pay, reasonable hours. Like in SAG, which is the Screen Actors Guild, I've been a member of that for many, many, many years, and they basically dictate the number of hours we're allowed to work, whether we get overtime. They have rules about doing nudity or doing stunts that you don't feel comfortable with. There are people you can call, sexual harassment, all these things. They basically give the workers, a protective sort of layer. I know some people have a less rosy outlook on unions. Certainly, everything has their good and bad. But for me, as a performer, I wouldn't have health insurance or a pension if it weren't for SAG. And I'm very excited to be a part of the Writers Guild so they can protect me as I go into the Hollywood beast mouth with my pen in hand a little bit more. than usual. I'm not really planning on just becoming a full-time writer on, like somebody else's show, but I do want to do more writing and hopefully get more stuff made in Hollywood, but you never know. I also am a little depressed. I will say I had a little bit of a breakup with all my representatives. They were all very nice people, but I kind of reached a point in life where I was in therapy for several months and I'm like, I'm unhappy. And they were like, well, there's something in your life that you need to change. And I'm like, but they're really nice people. And then I came to the conclusion that sometimes you just break up because you're both nice people, but you need to change. And I always was like, I thought that was unreasonable in relationships with people. I'm like, well, you could work it out. Sometimes you try to work it out and it doesn't work out. Or you just need a change in life. And that's okay. I'm the kind of person who will stay stuck in a relationship for until it just withers and dies. It's like one of those, like a skin tag. It's like, you really should pull that off or cut it. But I'm just going to let it wither until it's just black. That's not really what happens to skin tags. At any rate, I have a birthday in 2 days. I will be uploading this 2 days before my birthday. And I've decided that it's a big birthday and I need to just make some changes. And I think the thing that makes us really afraid of change is that we don't know what's going to happen. We have a certainty in the moment where we have a safety and a certainty and a routine. And whether we're 100% happy or not, that doesn't matter because the safety of it is more reassuring. The unknown is the scary part, right? And so I've always been super kind of risk averse in weird ways, especially with relationships with people. And so I don't let go of things. Every boyfriend I ever broke up with, I always told them oh, well, I didn't ever break up with them. They always broke up with me. And then I was like, I think you're going to change your mind, but okay. And then they leave. And then a month later, they'd come back. And then I would be like, I'm sorry, I'm over you. You left me. I wouldn't have let you go, but I'm glad you did this. So I always have to wait for the other person to initiate a breakup professionally or personally. And so in this instance, I just was like, you have a birthday, just be brave, do something different. And you might regret it, but that's okay. Regret is just as important a lesson as anything. And no, you can't go backwards. And that's fine too. So I did it. We'll see what happens. I forgot that the first week that I should have updated, I went to E3. This is a very late E3 update. I went to E3 and I took 1 day to do that. I did some interviews with Twitch and a couple other people just for Voyage to the Stars. And then I got to see way too much in a half day. It really was kind of crazy. But I got to go to the Ubisoft private area. They have sort of an upstairs area where you can get really hands-on and spend a while playing. I played their new game called Roller Champions, which is basically roller derby. And it's very soothing. I don't really like sports games. But for me, being on roller skates was a little less sporty. It was kind of like ice skating mixed with catching a ball, which I never was able to score. But I did enjoy muscling people down with my elbows and stuff. It was really fun. Actually, I would definitely play with my friends. I also tried out the new Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which, as you guys know, I did sort of an ad for on my Instagram, but I would not have done that had I not enjoyed the game. And the co-op experience for Breakpoint is really awesome, and no one told me to say that. So those were really two good highlights at the Ubisoft area. We got to see me and my friend Ryan, not Ryan Day, Ryan Cobble, who created Voyage to the Stars. Oh, everyone knows everybody. We got to see the Cyberpunk 30-minute, no, it was almost an hour actually, presentation. Listen, I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but if you like Dragon Age or any of those big sort of story games or any RPGs whatsoever, it's going to be great. Oh, drool. I love Cyberpunk though. I love Shadowrun is actually my favorite pen and paper, even more than D&D, y'all, because I really want to be a Decker elf in my life. I'm actually in one of the Cyberpunk the Shadowrun games, the latest one, as a sort of an NPC, as a Decker elf. And that was kind of a thrill, to be honest with you. I'm also thrilled about Baldur's Gate 3, which got announced. I don't think it'll be out until later next year. But, talk about a dream come true. That is a walk down. I remember my brother and I used to sit and yell at each other, taking turns playing Baldur's Gate when we were kids. And it's going to be a real kind of nostalgia thing. So I'm excited about that. I really want to play Outer Worlds. So that's Obsidian. And they made Fallout New Vegas, which I did a voice in. And I always will tell everybody in the world that I think that That is one of the most underrated Fallout games. The writing in that is superb. It's better than the other ones, and I will just say that. I thought the writing was excellent. And so I want to play their new game. I think it's out already. Ooh, I think it is. So that's great. And then, Borderlands. I don't really play Borderlands. The new Star Wars game looks really cool. And there's that new Xbox Pass thing. So you can get the Xbox PC Pass, which I might get. But, I think it's really good. I just really want to get my RPG on. And as you guys know, I've been playing Operencia. I've been also playing Cooking Simulator and House Flipper on my Twitch streams. I will not be streaming this week. It's my birthday weekend. I'm going out of town. I'm going up to the woods, a couple hours outside of LA. It's a town, I guess. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going. But I rented a cabin. It's like glamping. I was like, I want to take the baby to the woods, except I want air conditioning and 3 bedrooms and, a kitchen. So that's what we did. It's near a stream. It looks really nice. I'm excited about it. I've never been up in the woods, even though it's kind of like I can walk to a grocery store from the place I live, which I never did before I had the baby. It's a 10-minute walk, y'all. And if I lived in New York, I would probably walk 30 minutes a day. 10-minute walk in LA seems unreasonable. And when I finally got that baby carriage and I walked up to the grocery store, I was like, oh, this took 7.5 minutes. I could have been doing this for about 10 years. Not embarrassing, except it was. So that was E3. I really missed that world. I really miss being in the gaming world. And I definitely want to have a game night. That's kind of my birthday treat. I think we're going to go to a board game cafe or something with my friends because I really miss it. I miss all that stuff I did, and I'm hoping I'm actually clearing, getting new people to work with down the line and just kind of reprioritizing my life around, a birthday is a good time to do that because that's one less year I have to live. So uplifting. I read a bunch of books, guys, and I want to talk to you about them. And also, if you like the books, please go to felicitations.fandom.com. Sean Sandalucky compiles the show notes every week. And if you want a book, you can go there. I really need to update my Goodreads, and that is the 17th time I've said that on a podcast. I also need to do my newsletter. Summer planning, but all the books are listed there, which is very cool. Last night I finished a book called Empress of Forever by Max Gladstone. It was really good. It was like a sci-fi futuristic novel. Awesome characters. I really, really loved it, actually. It was very imaginative, but it also felt like sort of a romp, like a Firefly kind of romp in space, but with kind of tech over. Like it had a lot of tech in it as well. Max Gladstone also read a couple books. I actually blurbed one of them. They liked my Goodreads review of them, and they took one of my comments and did a blurb out of it because I think he's a really cool world building person in a way that it doesn't feel typical. It's not like, oh, I know what I'm getting. It's swords and sorcery. No, it's like, it'll be a fantasy cyberpunk kind of world. It'll be futuristic space opera / cyberpunk. It's really cool. So I recommend it if you like a really meaty futuristic sci-fi cyberpunk. I'm going to stop now. I finally finished Woman Who Would Be King. That was the Hapset shoot. I still can't say it. About the Egyptian emperor, the Egyptian female emperor. And the worst part of that was that, I don't know if I talked about this before, but I'm just going to say it briefly. The last chapter was all about how her sort of like her stepson, who succeeded her, who she kind of co-ruled with for a very long time. After she died, he went around erasing her from everything and like talking crap about her on in hieroglyphs. It was really irritating. Like, I don't care if she was a big old bee. Like, listen, she ruled the country. She did pretty good. And don't go around after someone dies, like just ruining their legacy. I guess, okay, here we go. That was my brother texting me. I guess, after you die, nothing matters. There was a really good quote from Conan O'Brien. I think was talking to John. I already talked about this. I've already said it. Anyway, nothing matters after you die. Fame fades. It's all great. Just do what you need to do in the moment that makes you happy, right? I also read an amazing book that was sent to me by the publisher called Exhalation. It was by Ted Chiang. And he was the one who wrote the short story that Arrival, the movie, was based on. So he is very well known for writing very cerebral tech leaning short stories. And I am not a short story person. I could really give a crap about short stories. Usually it's kind of a chore for me because I really like to dig into big world building. But these short stories, if you like sci-fi, if you like kind of nerdy sci-fi, they are very thought-provoking, and they look at tech in a way that feels very near, but also kind of frightening, but also it's probably going to happen. So if you like kind of near future or, near-ish future tech, short stories that make you think about what how we deal with tech now, I would highly recommend it. They are so well written. They're just, everything about them is so precise and simple, but so profound. I was like, oh, I'll never be this profound. All right. Also, the cover's really nice to touch. I've been trying to read physical books in my room because I literally have a stack that might fall on me and kill me during the night next to my bed. So I had this book called Lafayette in the Somewhat United States by Sarah Vowell. You might recognize her from This American Life. She has a really squeaky voice. I love her so much. And this is an amazing book, y'all. It's a history of Lafayette, who he ended up being a general in the United States Army, and basically he got France to fund the revolution in America. And I had no idea. I don't really know that much about the American Revolution. I know a lot about the French Revolution, but I didn't know that basically we caused them to have a revolution. So they got so in debt by supporting the American Revolution that's when things went really south with the economy, and that's why there was a revolution in France. So our revolution basically caused a revolution against the people who funded our revolution, and that's kind of a weird worm orobius, whatever that word is, irony. But Lafayette, she has such vivid, casual language, so she kind of puts history in a very sort of relatable thing, and she quotes a lot of letters, but she does it in a very conversational tone, and she's very funny while she does it. So if you ever want some funny history about the American Revolution, I would highly recommend this. Basically, we owe this whole country to France, y'all. So that whole freedom fries thing back in the day was so ignorant, but I didn't know any of this either. So if it weren't for the French, we would not have a country. So we would all have really thick accents and talk like this, Cooney and everything. Ugh. Okay, stop. Last book I read, which was very depressing but really good, was a book called Company of Liars by Karen Maitland. And this is an old book. I've had it on my Kindle for a long time. For a while, I was obsessed with the Black Plague, and I wanted to sort of I just had all these nonfiction books about the Black Plague. And this was the one that people listed as the best book about, the fictional book about the Black Plague. And it's about a group of very quirky characters, not in a quirky, fun way, a very dark, quirky group of characters traveling through England in sort of the late 14th century when the plague is basically decimating whole towns in the country. And it's so fascinating. But what's amazing about it, you guys, is that it's so vivid. And you really feel like the way that she describes and researches, it's an apocalyptic wasteland. And people, there's no law, but the law is arbitrary, and it's very much weighted against women, or, blaming Jewish people. It's very violent, so I would not recommend it if you have any triggers from A to Z. But it's so good, and it makes me appreciate what we have now that a lot of people don't realize. For 99% of humanity, we lived in a subsistence sort of way. We lived, in a way that at any moment, all of our family could come through and die, either from war or famine or disease or just basic, thuggery. And so I can't imagine being in that world not having a security of knowing whether you'd live the next day. The child, the birth rate and the child mortality rate was so high, you would just have to have a completely separate mindset about the people you love. The whole idea of end of life, you want people to just hurry up and die, right? Because they're a burden if they're eating and yet they're not contributing, right? You wouldn't get as attached to people because you know that everything is so transient, and you'd also live in the moment more, which I don't know, maybe that's better or good. I like being able to know that the people I love probably will be around next week. But anyway, highly recommend the book. It's so good. And it's very dark, but if you like some really dark history with some really interesting characters, check it out. All right, let's do some questions. Because I'm hungry. I want to go to lunch. Not with you guys. But you can come in my pocket. That's weird. Well, Let's see. Zigirva. All right, I don't know what that is. Sorry. ZIHG_RVA. That's not easy to pronounce, is it? Sorry. I just started listening to this week's felicitation. I'm so glad you enjoyed Richmond. I did enjoy Richmond. I was sad I couldn't meet you, but I'm going to try to make it to Raleigh in July. I will be in Raleigh. I will be briefly in San Diego Comic-Con. Check my schedule. I will be in Raleigh after that. And then after that, I will be in New Mexico for a convention and Vancouver. So that's my July and August. I'm wondering what bakery you went to. Oh, I went to Sub Rosa, and it is incredible. So one of my favorite bakeries in the world now is in Richmond, Virginia, and it's called Sub Rosa. And I walked in, and the cashier was a fan of mine. She did not give me anything free, but that was kind of after I was rung in. It's okay. I don't need free things. The other day I did drive to the museum with the baby. She wanted to see go to the science museum, and I got free parking because the person attendant recognized me. And I was like, you know what? You've made it, Felicia. Don't ever get down on yourself. You made it enough to get free parking once. And there you go. And then I donated another $20 to the museum. Okay. I balanced this karma scales. I'm pretty good about that. That was a brief. I just wanted to say hi to Zig. Here we go. Owly. Hey, great podcast. What game in whichever format do you look forward to introducing Calliope to when she gets old enough? Oh, well, I mean, the Switch. I cannot wait to play Mario Kart with Calliope. She is going to love it. I have to tell you, so I don't show her screens. I'm not really into her watching TV yet. Maybe when she's 3, I'm not even sure. She might get 1 episode a day when she's 3 years old. I'm not judging anybody who allows their children to watch TV. I'm fine, as long as you know what they're watching, especially the YouTube app. I would not recommend just unsupervised YouTube video watching, but Daniel Tiger, cartoons, whatever. But I would much rather her play video games because at least she's doing hand-to-eye coordination, right? She's actively knowing that she can make an impact on the world, and I'm a gamer, so I want her to play games. I can't wait to play Mario Kart with her. I think she'll love Super Mario Galaxy. She can be like the star, and I could be like driving, she could watch me play. That'll be fun. Pokemon, Smash. I am not that big a Nintendo person because I didn't have one as a kid, but the more I think about like her as a gamer and what I would want her to experience as a gamer, as a kid, I think it's more Nintendo, They do everything well. And what they do well is that the games are enjoyable for anybody of any age. And I really admire that. I mean, yes, of course, one day I want to, watch her play Borderlands, kind of, a first-person shooter. I would love her to be, I don't know, I think RPGs. I'll help her arrange her inventory, her backpack inventory. But yeah, I cannot wait for Mario Kart, especially. That's going to be great. I will still claim Toad, all right? I don't care if she wants Toad. All right, I'll give her Toad. Kathy Kaka asks, I just started listening to your podcast and you mentioned that you did IVF. As a fellow nerd IVFer, I'd like to hear about your journey. Is that an okay question? It is, Kathy. I like to be pretty transparent about it because my baby cost a lot of money. I did not know this at the time, but when I turned 35, I went to the doctor and they were like, you probably can't, you're having some issues. You cannot have a baby. This is very complicated. And I had to go to the fertility people and I did not know what was wrong. It turns out I had many things wrong with me. I had a thyroid issue. I had some other hormonal imbalances in my body. I also had so many fibroids inside my uterus that literally nothing could live there my whole life, from endometriosis, which I didn't even know I had. They had so much scarring. I had to have 3 surgeries to clean out the uterus. It was kind of like a storage unit that just had too much crap in it. Nothing else could fit in there. I had to do that actually 3 times because the fibroids grow very fast in my body. And so after a year of trying to have a baby, and getting my eggs frozen and all that stuff, I did implants. And when they do an implant, so okay, this is how it works, guys. You do all these shots to get your eggs out, and you will grow any number of eggs. I got an amazing number of eggs. I got like 30 eggs out. Usually people get maybe 10, 15. I don't know. I've had people get 1 out. Friends who are younger than me only got 1 out. You never know how healthy your ovaries are. And that's, as a woman, people should at 30 always go get checked up. Because you never know. Your body might just not have it. And you want your options, right? Because society doesn't tell us early enough to really think about those things, especially because if you want a career, it's kind of hard to put it on pause in your late 20s and have a kid. Like biology kind of pushes us to do. Anyway, so I went in and I had all these issues. I worked on the issues. I got my eggs frozen, and I knew who I wanted to be the father of my children. So they were able to use this technology to inject each egg with sperm. And so then you create an embryo, and then they see how long those embryos last. If they last to day 5, which I think half of them did, they're able to genetically test them. And so out of all the eggs that I got fertilized and tested, 8 of them were viable fetuses that were genetically okay. And when you do the genetic testing, guys, you get the sex of the baby. So I was able to, I had a preference for a girl, and they were right there. So that's what I did. I don't know. Is that weird? I mean, I was already in there. I would want any baby that I had, but science, I had to pick one. So anyway, I tried 2 implantations with these supposedly perfect embryos, and they did not work. And in the process of doing implantation, you have to have these crazy patches on your body, and those patches are what made me grow fibroids. So after the first one, I did a second one with it, and I literally went crazy too. Like, that patch made me insane. I almost drove off a bridge because I was so angry about somebody cutting me off. So that was not healthy. And so after 2 of them did not work, it's very expensive, y'all. I mean, every time you implant it, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. I was like, I have to stop for a while. So I took 6 months off and I de-stressed. And this was right after my book came out. So actually, I did these implantations right after my book tour, and they did not work out. And I was really, really devastated. And, this is what you do. So I took 6 months off and I de-stressed. I kind of pulled back from anything that was making me unhappy. And I also sort of delegated a little bit better. I prioritized my health. I went and did some cleanses, and I changed my diet to be a lot less processed and more natural. I exercised 3 times a week. And after 6 months, I decided to try it again. And I had done a lot of research, and I decided to not use those estrogen patches. So that kind of required me to go in every single day to see when they were going to implant. Everybody who doesn't care about this is totally yawning. I'm summarizing it. I could do a 4-hour podcast on this. So it's a lower chance of working, but I didn't want to go through that process again where I would grow more fibroids and also just be crazy. It was not good for my brain or my body. And they reluctantly agreed. So I went in every day, and I was like, nope, not ready. Nope, not ready. And it was a lot of extra money, but it ended up being calliope. So there you go. If anybody has to go through a journey like that, it's very, 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 it's very tough. It's very expensive, and it's very emotionally draining. And you know what? Whatever your journey with not having children, wanting children, whatever iteration it is, my heart, it goes out to you, because it's one of those things people don't talk about, that there can be strife. You're basically, most of your life, afraid of getting pregnant. Women are. And then suddenly it flips on a dime, and it's very hard to deal with. I know last time I talked about this, someone mentioned that perhaps I could have been a little more sensitive about people who ultimately could not have children. And my heart goes out to you as well. Just know that, there are people, it's helpful to talk about the processes of everything. And I don't even have any advice to give. It's just what it is. It's life. So that's a very long, that's my meaty answer for now. Oh, it's another mom thing. You know what? Sorry, people. Sorry, singles. We got some mom stuff going on today. Jennifer Preston asks, any tips on weaning a booby-obsessed 2-year-old? Well, some guys can relate to this. I weaned my first at 2 because I was done and pregnant with my second. Wow. Champion. And he was cool with it, but my second is so obsessed, I have no idea how to come off. Okay. Well, listen, Jennifer, you clearly are, you have some good boobs there. Clearly. Who thought I would ever say that on a podcast? Listen, Calliope is obsessed. She, to this day, goes to bed with her hand on my boob. And it has to be a naked boob. And sometimes she'll go like, I love those boobies. I call them nipwolves. Sometimes I look up at the Nest Cam in her room, kind of like Jim from The Office. Like, I know no one's watching, but like she'll do weird things like that, and I'll just kind of give a Jim to the Nest Cam in case someone's spying. I'm like, listen, there's nothing to see here. So funny. I mean, my advice would be to establish limits. I said, Calliope, she would grab my boobs too, even if after she was weaned, and I had to be like, no, we don't do that in public. So you can do it at home. And she's eventually, over the last 3 months, she's kind of like detached herself, except for at nighttime. As far as weaning goes, I started cutting back, one feeding here, one feeding there. And then basically I had someone else go to sleep with her at night, because that was kind of the last, first of all, I think I left the last one for the morning. So basically I cut down the daytime ones pretty radically, and that kind of drove me into a depression that was really bad. I've talked about this before. Then I cut off the nighttime feeding and had someone else go in and go to sleep with her every night. And that was a struggle, but after a week, she got used to it. And then eventually, I basically, in the morning, would just let her nurse shorter and shorter time. I'd let her get a little taste, and I'd be like, nope, that's enough. And then eventually it was like, I would kind of ghost in the morning. And sort of, it's just the attrition sort of helped. So I would just do it over the long term. If you do it too short term, your boobs will hurt, and you'll get even probably more mood problems, and it'll be a little more traumatic. So I would just create like a sort of strategy and sort of go at you guys' pace together. I am not an expert on this. You can always consult a lactation specialist on it too. But you put in 2 years, however many years is good for you, is good for you. And if you're ready to do it, I think, he has food. So there you go. Mac, last question? Yeah. Mac Owens asks, hey, Felicia Day, did you ever get audition or get to be asked on The Big Bang Theory? I actually did. During 2011, I got asked to audition for Raj's girlfriend, who later was a redheaded girl who dressed a lot like me. I don't know if that's what they had in mind, y'all, but I was in the middle of shooting Guild Season 6, and I could not make it away from set to audition. Would I go back and do it again? Yes, I would. Because even if I didn't get the role, the other girl was great, obviously. But it would have been great to be... I do feel like it's weird that during the peak years of my nerddom, that show was on and I never got to be on it. A lot of my friends were on it as well. Many, many friends. I know the creator really well. He's a wonderful person. And yet I have a little FOMO about not being a part of that family. But it's cool because there's so much out there, And it was a great show for celebrating nerds and geeks. So there you go. I got to be on Supernatural. That's fine too. So yeah, listen, right place, right time, right skills. It's all sort of, Hollywood is a little bit crazy like that. Who knows what could have happened if I was in a different place at a different point, not busy that week, whatever. But at the end of the day, what I do, I always do the things that I love, and that's good enough for me. All right, well, that's it, guys. Please check out Voyage to the Stars. Make sure to rate this podcast and Voyage to the Stars if you have time. Either of them is great. Leave #Felicitations questions on Twitter for me to answer, because those were some great questions. Lots of boobies. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, there will be a good announcement, so I will be able to talk about it, and that will be nice. And I will upload something because I'm excited for it. All right. See you guys later. Come to the Discord at discord.gg/Felicia Day if you want to chat between podcasts. I'll see you guys later. Bye.